Here we go.
Okay.
102b at the end, finishing the Gemara. So we're in the middle of a discussion about a Tvul Yom, somebody who is awaiting mikvah, and he wants a portion of the sacrifices. So we went through all these logical kal v'chomers back and forth to see if he can get a portion of the sacrifices. And at the end of the day, the verse told us if you can't serve, you can't sprinkle the blood, you don't get the sacrifices. So now, Parich Rav Chai asked the question, Lei Malay, the Tvul Yom should say to the Kohen, Teili mibachor v'ochel. The firstborn animal, so give me some of that, so I'll be able to eat. So, what's going to happen though, if he says that? Mishum da Amar Lei, Ma'avamakom Shura Koichi B'chatos, Eitzon Shei Bavadai, Yechisicha Mechatos Yisrael. When it came to a sin offering, a chatas offering, which is we said was very strong because it's very strong because whenever I bring it, even if it's not my day, I still get a portion of it, and still the Tvul Yom is excluded. So for sure, just like a chatas where my strength is weakened because I cannot give it to my wife and my servants, I'm pushed away from having a portion of the sin offering of another Jew. So the gula gili, a bechor, is all mine. I can do whatever I want with it. My animal, the Kohen gets the animal, and he can do whatever he wants with it. He can share it with his wife, anybody he wants. So So I for sure, if even the chatas, which I'm restricted, I can still push you away, Mr. Tvul Yom, who's impure, from taking any part of it. For sure, the bechor, which is much more is less restrictive. I can much more free to do what I want. For sure, I could push you away. So now he responds. He said, listen, chatas were both equal. We both have a weaker strength in the chatas, a weaker hold, because we're both limited when we bring it. But a bechor, listen, we both have such a strong hold in it. Whenever we get the bechor from the, if I bring up the animal to the Kohen, so he can do whatever he wants with it, feed it to anybody he wants. Our strength is so strong, so that should be a reason why I should get a portion of it. That we say, Harehu Omer es Adamim Tizor Kal Mizbeach, Ves Chelbam Taktir Ubesar Mielach. So the verse describes the throwing of the blood. What? Huh? The verse describes the throwing of the blood, and then it describes the burning of the fats, and then it describes having a portion of the meat. So that teaches you, but zrok va'achol. Only someone who could throw the blood, he himself will get a portion in the meat. Since the person who's impure, awaiting nightfall, the Tvul Yom, can't do that, so therefore he is not going to get a portion of the meat. So, okay, so that's that. Now, why didn't the other opinions quote this verse? The other opinion should quote this verse. Or not this verse. Why, when we brought all the logic at the end of yesterday, did we not bring a bechor? So why didn't they bring this case of a bechor? The idach. So he says, Parich miksiv ubesar lekohen. It just says hazorik ubesar mielach ksiv. Afil lekohen acher. It doesn't sound like this verse says. It just says, and the meat ubesarim lekohen hazorik. The meat goes to the kohen who throws blood, and you could read it as any kohen who throws blood. So then the meat will go to some kohen. It doesn't say, it says, it doesn't say you, the one who has to throw the blood, you get a portion of the meat. It just says, as long as blood was thrown, the meat can be consumed, even by another kohen. So that was the reason why the earlier sources didn't bring this pasuk it's less direct. This case is less clear. Our cases before was very clear that the one who throws gets to eat. The one who does the service gets to eat. Here, it's not as clear. Okay. Now, so so now we're going all the way back. This whole thing started was because we said that the person was learning in the bathroom, right? And we point out that the bathroom was a really parenthetical, really irrelevant fact. So now the Gemara picks up on that. One second. He's learning in the bathroom. How can he learn in the bathroom? You're allowed to think Torah in every place except for the bathhouse and the bathroom. So how could he be thinking Torah in this situation? Because the Gemara, La'on so shiny. It sounds like it was unavoidable. It was Rashi says he was so much reviewing his learning, his mouth was muttering all the teachings, and it just happened to come out of his mouth. It was totally unavoidable. So when you're learning something very intensely, it's hard to get it off your mind. So yeah. So it doesn't sound like he was saying this out loud in the bathroom. It sounds like he was really thinking in the bathroom, and later he told somebody what he was thinking in the bathroom. How could he be thinking in the bathroom when it's very intense and it's unavoidable? So then it's unavoidable. What could you do? If it is avoidable, then yeah, avoid it. If it's unavoidable, what could you do? Okay. Next Mishnah, a whole section. Let's see. Okay. So we know that an animal has meat and an animal has hides, the skins of the animal. Now, we've been talking about the meat of the animal. What about the hides? So, says the Mishnah, Kosh lo zacham is be'ach b'besaro, lo zaklo kohanim be'ora. If the altar doesn't get the meat, the kohanim will not get the hides, won't get the skins. So how do I know? Shenamar olas ish, ola she'alsa ish. It's an ola that was fit for a person, meaning an ola that was fitting to be brought up on the altar. Such an ola, the kohanim can receive the hide. But if we're going to see there's going to be a bunch of invalid olas and we're not fitting for the altar, then the hides don't go to the kohanim either. Okay, so let's see. Ola shenishcheta shelo lishma. Go back to the first page of Zevachim, right? An ola that was sacrificed for the wrong intentions. So you sacrificed it for a chatas instead of an ola, or something like that. So this is an exception to the rule. Even though it's not going to work if the person has to bring an ola and the kohen has the wrong intentions, it doesn't count as the person's ola. But we pointed out then, it still can be brought up on the altar. It doesn't count as his korban. So in that case, that skin can go to the kohanim. Okay. As opposed to everything else, which is invalid, it cannot go to the kohanim. We'll see all the sources in a second. So now, echad ola sa'ish, echad ola sa'isha.
I think on 138.
What did you say?
I think on one. Oh, sorry, I wasn't.
Yeah. Okay. So echad ola sa'ish, echad ola sa'isha, or rusein kohanim. Whether you're a male brings an ola or a female brings an ola, the hides go to the kohanim. Oros, now that's all by the ola. What about the skins of other sacrifices? Shlamim, chatos, asham. So, oros, kachin, kalim, labailim. The lesser sacrificial offerings, those go to the hides go to the owners. Oros, kache, kadashim, lekohanim. But the hides of the the holier offerings, like a chatas and the asham, those go to the kohanim. And the Gemara says, how do I know? From the kal v'chomer. Now, what's going to be the kal v'chomer? An ola gets fully consumed. None of it goes to the kohanim, the meat. And yet the Torah says the hides go to the kohanim. So for sure, sacrifices where the meat does go to the Kohanim, for sure the hides will go to them as well. So, Uma'im ola shlo zacha b'besara zachu ba'ora, kachay kadashim shezachu b'besara eino dinji yisku ba'ora. So for sure, sacrificial offerings that a person merits their meat, for sure they're going to get this hides too. And says the Gemara, don't bring me a rebuttal from the Mizbeach. Don't tell me that, oh, look at the Mizbeach. The Mizbeach is going consumes all the meat of the Ola, and yet the hides go to the Kohanim. Don't say that's a good rebuttal on the Kal V'chomer, because the Mizbeach never gets the hides, as opposed to offerings where sometimes they do get the hides. That would be a good Kal V'chomer. Okay, now says a brisa, different sources that we're going to prove this idea that if an offering is invalid to be brought on the altar, it's going to be then the Kohanim will not get the hides. So Taner Rabbanan Olas Ish, Prat Olas Hektish. The Ola of a person comes to exclude the Ola of Hektish. We'll see what that is in a second. Meaning only the Ola of a person do the Kohanim get the hides. If it's an Ola of sanctity, we'll see what that means in a second. So then they do not get the hides. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, he says, Prala Olas Geirim. We'll see what that case is later also. We're coming to exclude the Ola of a convert. Now it's going to ask, it doesn't mean a regular convert. It's going to mean a convert who dies, who leaves an offering over. A regular convert's a regular Jew. But a convert with no relatives who dies, what do you do with that animal? That's going to be a discussion later on. But either way, so two opinions, what's excluded? Either Ola's Hektish, a Ola that belongs to Hektish, we'll see what that is in a second. Its hides do not go to the Kohanim, or the Ola of converts, which is going to be one specific case, its hides don't go to the Kohanim either. Now, what does it mean? Ma'i prala Ola's Hektish. And now we're going to do a lot of like Tamura, which we'll appreciate only later on. But Ma'i prala Ola's Hektish. What is it? What is an example of Ola's Hektish? So that we're coming to exclude. So, Amr B'Chia Bar Yosef, Prat Ola Haba Mina Mosaris. There's a number of cases where you have, so to speak, left over. So we have Asham offerings. We have Asham offerings that if they're, let's say, you lost one and then you replaced it and you found the original one, or I think if the owners die, so you have these extra. Now you have these extra offerings. So what do? You sell them, and they're you sell them, and the money is used as a Ola offering for the temple. So that Ola offering, which is comes as a result of a remainder Asham offering. So that's called Ola Schatas. That's a Ola which is owned by the temple. That Ola, when it's brought up, its skin is not given to the Kohanim because it doesn't really belong to the Kohanim. It really belongs to the temple. So those are called an Ola that's Haba Mina Mosaris. It's an Ola that's brought from a communal offering. In this case, it's talking about where, like we mentioned, let's see the Asham, whose owners died, or it's lost and then found, but it's already been replaced with another Asham. So you sell them and you purchase, you use the money to purchase an Ola and bring it up. Now, this idea that when you have these leftover offerings, they become communal offerings, that itself is a debate. So, I understand if you tell me that the extra Olas become communal offerings, so then yes, the hides do not go to the Kohanim. But according to the opinion that says that really there's another opinion out there that says that really they go to purchase private offerings. So if you go to purchase private offerings, so then maybe those hides should go to the Kohanim. So according to that opinion, what does it mean that an olas hektish is excluded? What's the case of an olas hektish being excluded from giving the hides to the kohanim? So that we say kida amar Rava, like Rava said, ola rishona. We have another exposition of Rava that says ola is the first one that's brought in the day. So hachanami ola rishona. So to hear ola rishona comes to teach you that so that the offering, that the hide goes to the kohanim, is only when it was originally sanctified to be an ola. But if it comes as a result of another offering, like in this case where the asham was found, it was designated as lost and then found, but by the time it was found, its replacement has been brought already. So now you're going to sell it and use it as a private ola offering. That's something which will be disqualified as one of the ola offerings that the hides are given to the kohanim. Okay, so that's the first exclusion in the brisa, the olas hektish. Now, so those are two opinions, either a communal ola or a private ola. They're both excluded. Fine. Another opinion, Rabbi Aibo Amar Rabbi Yanai, prat lematfis ola lebedek habayis. So now he says we're coming to exclude an ola has been designated for the upkeep of the temple. So a person has an ola, and now they're going to use it. They're going to use it to. They want to donate it for the construction of the temple. So that ola, its hides are also on the list of things that are excluded from being given to the kohanim. Now, there's also two opinions about this. Lomi bayi lamanda mar kachi bedek abayis tafsi midoraisa. It's a funny case. You have an ola that's designated, I believe, and now you're designating that ola to be for the upkeep of the temple. So even though I think it's already designated, however, you want to now designate it for the upkeep of the temple. So does that work or does that not work? So lomi bayi lamanda mar kachi bedek abayis tafsi midoraisa. Not for sure, according to the opinion that it's going to be, it's going to take on the sanctity of the upkeep of the temple. Meaning, you have your ola and you offer it and you sanctify it, and now you want to have it used and designated for the upkeep of the temple. So for sure, that works biblically. For sure, the hides are not going to go to the temple. For sure. That makes a lot of sense because the hides don't belong to the kohanim. It's fully for the temple. Yeah. Now we're saying Ella afilu lemanam or lo tafsi. There's an opinion there in Tamura that says that such sanctification does not work. You can't do that. But that's only honey mealy buster or toughest. That which you can't take your ola and now designate it for the upkeep of the temple. So that's even that opinion says that's only the meat, but the skin does get that level of sanctity, and since the skin gets that level of sanctity, so therefore its skin doesn't belong to you anymore. It belongs to the temple, and therefore it will not go to the kohanim. Okay. V'chein, similarly, Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rabba bar Avuha, prat la'ola haba min hamusaros. So Rav Nachman said a similar statement that we're coming to exclude an ola that's brought from the leftovers, from either the asham where the owners died, or the asham that was found. Either way, that will go to the when you sell it and you purchase a communal ola, the skins of that offering will not go to the kohanim. So now, Amar le Rav Hamnuna Rav Nachman Keman. Who does that opinion go like? Meaning, you just told me Rav Nachman said that Rabbi bar Avuha agrees to this, but now we're saying Amar le Rav Hamnuna Rav Nachman So according to who did you say this? Like, who are you so sure that agrees to you? So he asks, Kiman, Rabbi Yehuda? Maybe you'll tell me it's the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, but you should know Rabbi Yehuda retracted his statement. Ha-haderbe. He retracted. Where do I see that he retracted? Okay, let's see. Now more based on Mikdash knowledge. So they had a number of, like we have 4 tzedakah boxes, on the back table of Kesser. So they had something similar. And I think instead of 4, they might have had 13, but 6 of them were designated for the for donations. So 6 of them were used for the special offerings if you want to donate. Yeah. It said there, I don't know, it said there, Rashi brings a whole list. It said there that a whole number of donation offerings that you're able to put money into them. So you could put for young pigeon ola offerings, you could put for wood, you could put for gold for the base of Mikdash, you could add the shkalim, either way. So it says there that the Tanya, Shishal, and Adava, there were 6 voluntary offerings you could donate to. One of them was La'ola Haba Mina Musaros Shaloyu Kohanim Zakayin Va'ora Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says that there was these 6 tzedakah boxes for donation offerings, and the money that was used there would be used for ola offerings. So it would be used for leftover ola offerings. So I don't think I don't think these 6 were used for ola offerings. I think there were also other. 1 second. Yeah, I think it's just saying that there were other things that the money was used for special offerings. I don't know if these. 1 second. Yeah, I don't know if these 6 were used for them, but either way, they used some of the money to buy these ola offerings. So la'ola haba min hamosaros, they would take the money of the leftover offering of the asham that was lost and found or owners died, and use the money to purchase the ola offerings. Yeah. Shelo yu kohanim zakayin ba'ora. That those offerings, the skin was not, the kohanim did not merit the skin of those offerings. That's the beginning of Rabbi Yehuda, and we want to prove that Rabbi Yehuda retracted the statement. So let's see. Amar Rabbi Nechemi told him, Amar Rabbi Shimon, if this is true, so then in came the Talka Midrasho Shel Yehoyada HaKohen. If what you're saying is true, then you've nullified the exposition of Yehoyada HaKohen. Okay, let's see what he said. What did he say? So he said as follows: the Tanya, Zem Midrash Darash Yehoyada HaKohen. The following was the exposition that Yehoyada expounded. Asham. Who Asham? Asham la Hashem. So the verse says Asham, and it's an Asham. Who Asham la Hashem. So the person that's Asham, that's at fault, he's going to bring this offering for Hashem. Okay? And he expounds it, Kol Sheba Mishum Chadas Mishum Asham, Olas. So whenever you have to replace your offering, and that's you're going to buy a Chadas offering or an Asham offering, any extra money is going to go to purchase a communal offering. And there it says, when you do that, Habasar Lashem and Ora LaKohanim, that the meat's going to be for Hashem and the skin is going to be for the Kohanim. So what do you see? When you're buying these extra Ola offerings, the skin goes to the Kohanim, and the skin does not also go to Hashem. And it sounds like when he asked this to Rabbi Yehuda didn't respond. So the lack of a response shows an admission. So then Rav Nachman says back, Amar le elamar b'mayim mokim la. So if that's true, so then if that's true that the leftover Ola offerings, the hide goes to the Kohanim, so how do you interpret in that brisa it said that Ola's hektish is excluded from the hides going to the Kohanim? What case is that talking about? So Amar le muklina le the makdish nechasav ukler Yeshua. So another complicated case. It's talking about a case where a person sanctifies his offering according to the opinion of Rabbi Yeshua. So what case is this? It says the Tanan. A person sanctifies all his property. Yeah, the guy's about to die, let's say. And he says, all my property should be holy. So what do you do with the animal? Do you say the money of the animal goes to the temple? Do you say the animals that are fitting to be brought as sacrifices, they themselves are now holy? How do you do it? How do you divide it up? So the Hadyu Behen Behemas Harulius Ligavim Jet. There were animals that were fitting for the altar. There were Zecharim and Kavis, male and female animals. So now a debate breaks out. Rabbi Eliezer Omer Zecharim Yimakru Litzorche Olos. Male animals get sold to buy Olos, and Nikevos Yimkru Litzorche Zivche Shlamim. Female animals get sold to buy Shlamim sacrifices. And Demeyan and any extra money, Yiplu Imshar Nechasim Lebedek. Any extra money will go to the upkeep of the temple, as the rest of the property. As the car will be sold for the Bedek Abayis, and the house will be sold for the upkeep of the temple. So the leftover money will also go there. However, Rabbi Yeshua said no. Zecharim atzmam yikrevu. The male animals themselves get sacrificed. Olos unikevos yimachru. However, the Ola offerings, the ones that are fit to be Olas, or the female offerings, those get sold with tzorchei shlamim. And with that money, the yavi b'demehen Olos. That money, the extra money, is not like Rabbi Eliezer said, it's used for the upkeep of the temple. Rather, it's used to buy Olos. And the rest of the property, so now, that money that's used to buy these Olos, those hides do not go to the Kohanim. And that's what we wanted. And that answers what he does with that. What does he do with the exclusion of sanctified Olas? He uses it for this. This money, that's the remainder of an animal that was purchased as a result of someone sanctifying his things to the temple, that extra money will go to the Ola, and the hides will not go to the Kohanim. Now, the Afil the Rabbi Yeshua, even according to Rabbi Yeshua, who said, the Amar Adam Cholek Hegdesho, that you can split up the animals themselves will be holy, Ani Mili Basar. That's only true with the meat of al or tougher. But the or itself, the skin of the animal, so that is going to be toughest. That's going to be 1 second. Yeah, the skin is going to go to the upkeep of the temple, and it's not going to go to the Kohan. Oh, so there you have it. According to Rabbi Yeshua, these are examples of sanctified animals where the skin goes to the upkeep of the temple and not to the Kohan. Okay, next opinion. So in the very first brisa that we quoted, the other opinion said that we're coming to exclude the Ola of a convert. So what does that mean exactly? So Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda, Omer, probably Ola's Gerim, we're coming to exclude the Ola of a Ger, the Ola offering of a convert. Amr Rav Simai bar Chilkai, the Ravina. What does that mean? Atu Ger lav issue. What, a convert's not a person? Of course he is. There's no difference. He just meant to say, Amr Le, no, probably Ger Shemeis Vein Lo Yorshim. A convert, when he converts, is halachically not related to the rest of his family. So of course, if they have children, they are related. But if they don't have children and they have no other relatives, so then what do you do with their animal? That animal is donated to the temple, and the hides of that animal, the ola offering of that animal, those hides do not go to the Kohanim. Okay. So basically, that concludes that whole story. And all that happened was we're just an extension of the Mishnah that says that an ola offering, it's not fit to be brought. The hides do not go to the Kohanim. And we just pointed out that we're excluding either olas hektish or olas geirim, either sanctified ola offerings, which is a bunch of different opinions, either leftover ola offerings or we're excluding the one from the convert, which is a convert who dies with no relatives and has an ola. That ola's hides will not go to the Kohanim. Okay. Taner Rabbanan, next price. Olas ish, olas ish, olas geirim menashim adam minayim. I only know that the hides of a man go to the Kohanim. However, what about the hides of women, converts, servants, or ha'ola riba? Extra words, or ha'ola tells you that even the hides of the other people go to the Kohanim as well. Im came out hamalomer olas ish. So why say olas ish, the ola of a man? If it doesn't mean a man, it includes everybody. So it means olash also la ish. It means an ola that's fitting for a person, meaning an ola that is fitting to be brought up, as opposed to an invalid ola, one that's an invalid sacrifice. Excluding prat lanishchada chutzes mano. You slaughtered it and you had intention to consume it outside the right time, the chutz l'makoma, outside the right place, that's invalid, and that those hides will not go to the Kohanim. Shlo Kohanim is a kohen ba'ora. Those hides, the Kohanim are not going to be merit in their, to receive their hide. I would have thought that we should add another invalidation to the list, and that is if it's slaughtered for the wrong purposes, such as if you have in mind it should be a chatas, even though it's an ola, also labaylim, turning the page, as long as since it's not fitting for the owner doesn't count for his ola obligation. You would have thought, lo, you kohanim zachayin ba'ora, the kohanim will not merit to take part in the skin. Talmud lomar or ha'ola of mikol makom. Extra words, or ha'ola teaches you that an ola which is brought for the wrong intention, even though it's not fitting for the owners, however, it's still going to, it is still placed on the altar. Now we know from the first Mishnah in Zevachim, and its hide will go to the Kohanim. Okay. Or ha'ola, Eliel, or ha'ola, or kachikadashim minayin. Okay, now we're going to have a whole long, I think, 3 opinions. The Torah says that an ola's hides go to the Kohen. How do we know the rest of the sacrifices? Our Mishnah brought a kal v'chomer, but not everyone agrees it's because of a kal v'chomer. Some say it's because of a pasuk. And we're going to ask, well, if it's a pasuk, then what do you do with the kal v'chomer? So let's see. Oros kachik kadashim, super holy sacrifices, the chatas and the yasham, how that their skin goes to the Kohen, tamalomer or ha'ola asher hikir. It says or ha'ola, extra words tells you that even the skins of the very holy sacrifices go to the Kohanim. You would think that I would add to that list even the lesser holy sacrifices. It's only very holy sacrifices like the Ola. So like the Ola. Rabbi Shmuel Omer or Ha'ola Eli Ola Eli Ela Ha'ola Orus Kachik Kadashim. Second opinion. That was the first opinion. Rabbi Shmuel says, how do I know that the rest of the sacrifices, the super holy sacrifices, the very holy sacrifices, the skin goes to the Kohanim? How do I know? The din who it's going to be derived through logic. So he says, just like an ola, which the meat does not go to the Kohanim, it's fully consumed, and yet the skins do go to the Kohanim. Other sacrifices, such as a chatas or an asham, where the meat goes to the Kohanim, for sure their skin should go to the Kohanim. Says the Gemara, what our Mishnah said not to say. Rabbi Shmuel says, let the altar be a rebuttal on this. Why? Look at the altar. It accepts the meat, it consumes the meat, and it's not zocha, it doesn't merit any skin. So to that the Gemara says, yeah, but malam is be'ach skin, just like our Mishnah said. Remember, Kohanim Zachul b'Miktas. So Ho Zachul b'Miktas, Zachul b'Kulei. You can't bring a rebuttal from the altar. The altar never gets hides, but at least the Kohanim, they sometimes get hides. So since they sometimes get the hides of the Ola, they're going to also get the hides of the other sacrifices as well. So, okay. So, Rabbi Omer, a third opinion. Kol atzma lo hutzrachanu ela le'or ha'ola bilvad. Because you don't need anything to teach you that other sacrifices, the hides go to the Kohanim. You only need it, only by the Ola the Torah has to speak it. Everywhere else it's obvious that the skins go to the Kohanim. Why is it so obvious? Says Rabbi, because Shebechol Makom, every place, or Mahalik, Achar Basar, the skin always follows the meat. For example, let's look around the Sefer Vayikra and see what we find. So, part of Hanisrafim, the special bulls that get burned, and Seir Hanisrafim, the higos that get burned, Hain ve'orei and Nisrafim, ve'orosei and Nisrafim iman. They get burnt and their skin gets burnt. You see, the skin follows the meat. All these sacrifices, the Chatas Asham and the Shalmei Tzibur, the communal peace offerings, Matana LeKohen, it's a gift to the Kohen. So Ratu Mafshit Osan, Laratu Ochlen Osan, Al Gabi Oren, up to you. The Kohen can do what he wants. He could either strip the animal or he could not strip the animal, but either way, it's up to him. The skin follows. Once the gift to the Kohen, the skin follows the meat. So, Kachim Kalim, look at the lower level sanctity, like a regular shlamim. So, Labailim, so Ratu Mafshitim, Osan Ratu Okman Osan. You decide what you want to do with it. You want to skin it, skin it. You want to eat it with the skin, eat it with the skin. Okman Osan Al Gabi Oran. However, Aval Ha'ola, the Ola, the Torah specifies, Nemar B'Vehishit. As Ola, Vinasato Solin Sacheho, I'm going to skin the Ola and I'm going to cut up its pieces. So there it says you have to skin it. You have to skin it. Only the meat goes on the altar. So now you would have thought, you would have thought that the Kohanim would not have any portion of the skins, Talmud Lomer, or Ha'ola Asher Hikrim, Lo Yihiyeh. Talmud Lomar or Ha'ola. To that, the Torah says, or Ha'ola Asher Hikri. That it's the person, the Kohen who offers the Ola, he will get the skin. So that's what Rebbe said. That you don't, everywhere else, the skin always follows the meat. Just in this case, you have to specify that the Kohen gets the skin, because since the Torah says you have to skin the animal, you would have thought that the Kohen don't get any skin. That we say, no, you who sacrifices, you get the skin. Now, what is it? What do we do with this? The Brisa continues. There's another that I think, I don't know the specific here, but I think the end of that verse is Lo Yihiyeh. So for him, it should be, what's that coming to exclude? We already know that it goes to him, the skin. So Lo Yihiyeh is Prat L'Tul Yom, the Onin. It's coming to exclude someone who's awaiting nightfall to be pure, and an onain, and someone who is lost one of his immediate relatives. Sheyachol lo yisku b'basar, you would have thought that sheyachol lo yisku b'basar shehu la'achila, but yisku b'or she'enu la'achila. You would have thought that maybe they don't get to eat the meat because that's for consumption, but maybe they should merit to have the skin, which is not for consumption. Talmud Lomer, no, lo yihiyeh only to the regular Kohen. Coming to exclude these three categories, that even though the hides are not for consumption, however, they still do not get a portion of them, of the hides. Okay, so now Tanakama, the first opinion is Brisa that learned that from a verse that the regular, very holy sacrifices, that the skins go to the Kohanim, like a Chatas and Asham. The Tanakama Nami Teber Medina, you could have learned from a Kal V'chomer, like our Mishnah does, like Rabbi Shmuel does. Why did you not learn from a basic logic from a Kal V'chomer? This is something that comes up pretty frequently we have a concept that there are certain things that even though it can be learned out through logic, things that can be learned out with the Kal V'chomer, the Torah still wrote it out explicitly. So I think one explanation is because sometimes if it's only learned out through a Kal V'chomer, as if you can disprove the Kal V'chomer, you'll knock out the halacha. But if it's written explicitly, so then even if you dispute the Kal V'chomer, however, it's written explicitly, so you can't dispute that. So okay, Rabbi Shmuel. Okay, now Rabbi Shmuel, Hayasher Hikri Mai Avidle. The third opinion had an extra verse that teaches you that about the other sacrifices that the Kohen gets a skin. Rabbi Shmuel, who didn't use that, what does he do with it? So he learns from that verse that it comes to exclude only this Kohen gets the skin, excluding the one who's waiting nightfall to be pure, the one who's waiting to bring a sacrifice to be pure, and the one who's mourning for his 7 immediate relatives. So it's coming to exclude those people that they do not partake in the skin. The third opinion has the pasuk v'lo yihya to exclude those three. We say Rabbi Shmuel could not learn it from that verse because Rabbi Shmuel Latame, he goes according to his reasoning, such as Rabbi Shmuel, Nemar ba'ola, it says by an ola lo yihya, and never ba'asham lo yihya. So Xer Shava, to him it shall be, from an ola to an asham. Malaholam, just like by an asham atzmos of mutarin, afkan atzmos of mutarin. Just like by an asham, the bones are going to be permitted. The bones are yours. So too by an ola, we're going to say that the bones are going to be permitted for the kohanim. So even though the meat of the asham and the meat of the ola gets burnt on the altar, at least part of it, but the bones are still going to be permitted. So we need that lo yihya for that. On that, the Gemara says mufni. So we know that a Xer Shava either has, so it's always connecting two parts of the Torah. So there's something called the mufni. It has to be open, meaning available for exposition and not used for something else. And there's a discussion. Are both words, meaning section A and section B in the Torah, do both words have to be totally superfluous? That's called a mufne mishnei tzadim. It's open from two ends, so open-ended. Or as long as it's open on one end. But either way, it has to be open, available for exposition. Says the Gemara, this must be that these words lo yihya are available for that, because if not, the lo mufne, if they weren't available for that, you would have a very logical way to reject the comparison of an asham to an ola. What would that be? Mala asham shekain b'saro mutter lo. Sorry, mala asham shekain b'saro mutter. So lo yihya. Maybe an asham is very different because an asham he eats the meat, part of the meat. So maybe he gets the bones, but an ola that the meat is fully consumed. Why should he get the bones? Oh, that's what you would have said if the words were not available and open. But since they are open, at least one of them is open, so therefore it's used for Xer Shava. It's just interesting because there's a debate in Sukkah, in the beginning of Sukkah, Rashi and Tosfos. The 13 derivations that we say every morning, Rabbi Shmuel Omer, so everyone agrees that Xer Shava is only able to be used if your Rebbe taught it to you. It has to be passed down from Rebbe to student. There's a question by the other 12. But it's interesting that according to this, so does it mean that a Rebbe would never have such a Xer Shava if it wasn't open? Or it means even if he taught it to you, if you find out that the words aren't open, you would put into question his tradition? I don't know exactly. But either way, it has to be available, it has to be open, or else this would not be a logical deduction. Okay, I guess we will stop here, and we will continue, God willing, tomorrow morning. Have a wonderful day and an easy fast.
Ashkar.